Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news and THru HIker update. First off, more important than anything is Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there that raised us up to be good hikers. I greatly appreciate everything that you've done for us. My mama allowed me at a very young age, when she shouldn't have, to go in the woods and camp out and get the life scared out of me by a bunch of wild dogs or coyotes, but I made it through the night. So, and then she allowed me to get out in the woods and become an Eagle Scout and go out in places when I was very young. And we were supposed to be supervised, but you know how that is when you're a Boy Scout. But thanks a lot, Mom, and to all you moms out there, it's a thankless task, awful. So if your mom's still around, go and give her a hug, give her a call, let her know you love her and that you're thinking about her on this special day. So let's go ahead and hit it with the THru HIker. So we got some THru HIkers from 2019 that we wanted to add to our list of folks that we're keeping up with, and that is Hanging in Belt. So Hanging in Belt started in 2019. If you're familiar with that year, there was an incident occurred, and unfortunately that stopped their hike for the year or screwed up their time frame. They tried to continue on, they couldn't because their time frame was all messed up, so they had to get off the trail. They had plans to come back in 2020. You know what happened in 2020? We had another little issue. Pandemic hits, and so they had to get off the trail, and now they are back on the trail in 2021, and they are going to finish it this time. So looking forward to that. Right now they are at 1,200 miles and they are continuing north. So good luck to you, Hanging in Belts. Looking forward to your post. They have a YouTube channel called It's Who We Are, so go check them out and just keep them spurred on all the way to Katahdin. 2020 folks out there. So Father Time, he's checked in. He got off at Bear Mountain because of an injury, and he had to take care of a few things at home, but he's going to be heading back out next week, and he'll be finishing his 2020 THru hike somewhere around the 4th of July. So what a great date to finish your THru hike. 2020 folks, we got a slew of them, so hang on, here we go. Jeff Prater, he just started his flip-flop at Skyland Resort, Shenandoah National Park. Waldron in Scotland, they are through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Mad Rat, he started Nobo this week, and he did the approach trail. He says, but the stairs are still closed down at Amicalola Falls State Park. Tooney and Not Sure, they made it to Irwin, but they took a few days off due to some foot issues. Runway should be around the Triple Crown area. Crazy Quilt made it to Hot Springs and is on the way to Irwin. Funkster enjoyed soaking in the thermal hot springs down at Hot Springs. And by the way, they're really not hot springs, they're warm springs, but a town called Warm Springs just doesn't have as much ring to it as a town called Hot Springs. So, but he is done with that soaking and he's heading on to Irwin. Crusoe is leaving Damascus today. Lots of hikers, he says, are out here. It's been rainy and now the temps are dropping. So that was probably a little earlier last week when he sent that to me. But of course, there are always going to be lots of hikers in town at this time of year in general, particularly in Damascus, because that's where the big part of the bubble is. But then also anytime there's rain, snow, cold temperatures, that's going to bring them into town. Luscious is through Roan Mountain Highlands and he's heading to Hampton. Whispers is north of Harper's Ferry and he's possibly in Roxylvania now. Hillbilly, he's in the Smokies. Buttercup is staying in Iron Master's Mansion, and Buttercup's made it 100 miles and said that she had a big tree go down behind her and it took out 2 other trees. So it's very dangerous in the wind. When Come Along and I were hiking this past weekend, it was 44 knots with 24-mile-an-hour sustained winds. I'm going to tell you, wind whipping through the trees like that sounds like a train, and it can be very scary. We checked everything out to make sure there wasn't any deadfalls above us, but those kind of winds will rip out green limbs, so be careful out there. Captain America and Raptor, they have made it past the halfway point. Not only did they make it past the halfway, but they met and surpassed the half-gallon challenge. Not so much is north of Dalton, and matter of fact, I saw him, he posted that he is in Cheshire. Aquaman, he's past the quarter-way point. Congratulations to him. The Hiking Hobbit and Okie, they are past Hot Springs. Lunar and the Wandering Wolf Pack, they are somewhere around the mile 580 of the Jenkins Shelter. Had to backtrack a bit back to Marion because Skylar's paw had a little bit of injury. Wanted to kind of get that fixed, but they're back on the trail now. Dark Web is in Marion, and he'll be taking off again tomorrow. Don is coming into the Smokies. Orange and Grateful, they are hiking with Sarge, and they are in the Shanties. Ostrich is past Hot Springs. Mr. Rogers is past the quarterway. Congratulations to him, and should be coming into the Shanties. Silver, she had a pretty bad ankle sprain, had to take a few zeros to kind of get over that, but she's healed up and is now north of Marion. Mike and Kathy, they are around the Harpers Ferry area, and I think I saw where they posted, so they are past the 1,000-mile mark. Blueberry is north of Buchanan. Josh Farmer has made it to the halfway point. Congrats. Masochist, who is our Eastern Continental Trail hiker out there, has made it through the Smokies. Said it was a bit hairy. There was tons of people in the shelters there, particularly the shelter right before Cosby Knob, because Cosby Knob is closed due to bear activity, so everybody backs up there at that shelter before that, and it creates a real mess. I had another post there where there was 50 hikers either in the shelter or camped around the shelter. I don't know of any shelter spots that have that much space for that many tents. So you can imagine people are camping on 30-degree angles up there, and I'll be rolling out of my tent if that be the case. Any case, he also said that 2 women got hit by lightning up on one of the ridges, so apparently they had their umbrella up and got struck by lightning. Mary Poppins, that was probably her trail name, or should be her trail name now, but she got struck, and whoever was hiking with her was in close enough proximity where the lightning came out of Mary Poppins into the other hiker. So Mascus says that they are okay now, but still stay off the ridges during lightning storms, and please keep your umbrellas stowed during lightning storms. Cephas and Pitfall, they are climbing out of Irwin. Country Boys made it to Damascus and should be coming into Pearisburg. Hopeful and BG, they hiked a little over 53 miles this past week, mostly in Virginia, and they headed back down to the Smokies to go ahead and do those. They did not get them when they were coming through there before, and so now they are going through the Smokies, and they're supposed to be coming out today. Ewok in the Woods made it to Route 30 in Pennsylvania, and he says due to storm damage there is a reroute there at Route 30. Shoes, he is 75 miles to Damascus. Travel Beat is north of Fort Royal heading into Harpers Ferry, and he also drove down to Pearisburg. He said the bubble is definitely there, that all the hotels, all the hostels, any place where somebody could lay their head is completely full down there. Said he got out on the trail, he hiked Sobo, so he was down there going through the section that had been closed due to the down power lines. He wanted to go ahead and pick those up while he was still in close enough proximity. Said he passed, and he did it Sobo, so he said he passed 36 thru hikers in an 8-hour, 20-mile hike. So that's a lot of folks out there on the trail, and those are people on the trail. That doesn't include folks that are in town. Texas made it to Glasgow, spending time with her boyfriend, and then she'll be heading to trail days. Huck was here. He's almost to Damascus, so hopefully he'll stay over for trail days. 3D is cruising through the Shenandoahs. Subman and Suds, they have made it to mile 774. Goobs in the Smokies, Drifter and the Hun, they are in the Shanties, and they had a bear encounter at the Paul Wolf Shelter at mile 859. Mama and at least one cub, and they got within 10 feet of them, so I'm sure that wasn't on purpose. Showtime made it to Damascus. He's going to zero, keep heading north, and then he's going to get picked back up to come back to trail days. See a pattern here with trail days, right, folks? Jeff Riggs, he got his trail name of Crinkles, and he is hiking with Derby, Ballpark, AT Positive, Zen Master, Denise, and Randy. Possum and Greasy are through the Grayson Highlands and on the way to Atkins. Seb has left Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Ran into Fenway, Hillbilly, Moonshine, Nostradamus, Fenway, and some associated significant others with those folks. Oh, and Everclear while I was out there this past weekend with Come Along, and we did the section from Dickey Gap up to just short of Chestnut Knob, right before it takes the big climb up Chestnut Knob, right after the Lick Creek Bridge outing. And so ran into all those folks, so they should be coming into Pearisburg, if not already there. A couple folks that have gotten off the trail. Michelle with the Cronsway channel, she is got off due to tendonitis in her ankle. So she had some issues previously and went home to rehab those. Did not get them rehabbed, or thought she had a doctor's clearance. Unfortunately, she got back on the trail and she just could not do it with the tendonitis. So she is off for the year. Trimmer's off due to a back injury from a fall, and he is hopefully going to be getting back on. He got off at mile 64, and Blizzard made it 14 days, 165 miles, and Blizzard decided he is done with bouldering, and I understand that completely. I don't like all these rocks and roots, but that is part of the Appalachian Trail. No harm, no foul there, Blizzard. Congratulations on what you've done. You've done more than 99% of people in the country ever do, and it's just good that you just got out there and did it. So, in any case, we won't be hearing from Blizzard anymore. So we have had a few registrations that have come up from last week. So we had somewhere around an additional 57 hikers that have registered their hike from last week. So we had 33 Nobo that registered, additional Nobo that registered, 9 flip-floppers that registered, and 15 Sobo that registered. So now we actually have more Sobo than flip-floppers, and that's common. We got 206 Sobo out there, or that will be out there, and we've got 201 flip-floppers that will be out there. So our total this week, up 57 hikers for 3,319 who are registered for the ATC. That don't mean that's everybody that's on the trail. That's just the folks that are registered. So a little bit of trail news going on out there. Things are really bunching up in the Smokies. Like I said, we got folks that have reported 50 hikers around the shelter. Smokies is not a great place because there's no being out there away from the shelters, because there's no stealth camping in the Smokies. You can only camp at the shelters. So that's leading to a lot of people bunching up, and that particularly leads to the Norovirus every year. So up until this point, we have not had any reports of the Norovirus hitting anywhere. Usually the first place it hits is probably Standing Bear Hostel, but probably didn't get reported there. So the first place it really gets widespread reported is in Hot Springs, and Ostrich has reported that the Nor has hit Hot Springs and says that a lot of his friends have gotten it. So I'm going to check with some hostel owners there and see what they found out. But folks, the only way to avoid Norovirus is don't share your food, don't share your water, don't touch anybody, don't share stuff, don't touch the picnic table that's at the shelters. Keep yourself sanitized, or keep your everything clean. Whatever you can do, don't share gorp bags. Don't stick your hand in somebody else's gorp bag. So just play it smart, play it sanitary, and you'll avoid the Norse, because you don't want to look like this graphic right here. And believe me, you will if you don't practice good sanitary out there, especially in the Smokies. Jeff Prater reports that the Shenandoahs have a lot of damage from winter storms, but he says all the trails are clear of bow downs from the southern entrance to Panorama parking lot. And then Orange reports that no closures in the Shanties, plenty of hikers, all the waysides are open. Lewis Campground store is fully stocked and super hiker friendly. So glad to hear that. And then while Come Along we're out hiking, the section we went through there at Dickey Gap has the Comer's Creek bypass, and Comer's Creek Bridge was taken down due to some structural instability. However, there is no point in taking that bypass around. It's an official bypass of what the ATC deems official. I don't know why they're calling it official, since they're not officially, or since they're not at all recognizing thru hikers. So what's the point in having an official bypass? You don't need to take the bypass, because there's stepping stones right through the creek, and unless there's some type of torrential downflow that comes through there, you can get across it without getting wet at all. So I would suggest doing that instead of that road walk that goes around it, because that's just on a Forest Service access road down to the campground there at Dickey Gap, and I think it's Hurricane Campground, and it's just on gravel. So not a lot of fun there. And then there's no water at the partnership shelter. So they've taken the faucets and the spigots and everything. The privies there are open, but there's no water. And then but there is water available over at the Mount Rogers Visitor Center headquarters. You can go there. It's not, the bathrooms are closed there. The Visitor Center's closed there. The spigots attached to the Visitor Center are closed. However, Hillbilly, and I missed it, but Hillbilly tells me that in the yard out back, there is a yard hydrant where you can get some water too. So I haven't verified that, but Hillbilly verified it. Good enough for me if it's good enough for Hillbilly. Then I had a few questions that I asked for the ATC. I told y'all I hadn't heard nothing from them. They had cut me off, and I gave them one more shot before I was going higher. Fortunately, the information officer got back to me there, and she said, here's the questions I asked. I asked several questions. The first question I asked was relating to bears and bear reports and what the response is. So I wanted to know who monitored it, who responds, what's the time frame of the response. And I indicated there that I had had people that had told me they had had some bear encounters, and by bear encounters, I wasn't referring to sightings. I was referring to bears coming in, active aggressively, stealing food, things of that nature. So the answer I got was submitted bear encounter reports are routed to our visitor use manager. And by the way, you do those through their survey, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description section, but that's how you make a bear report, not by calling, not by emailing, but by filling out the survey. She says reports of habituated food condition behavior by bears or aggressive behavior toward humans are shared with local trail managers and posted on our trail updates page as soon as possible. A single bear sighting without accompanying problem behaviors is not always reported and posted online. Duh. Bears inhabit every part of the Appalachian Trail. Simple sighting is generally not cause for concern. I got you. We confer with local land managing partners and wildlife experts when appropriate. Even if we don't post every reporting of a bear sighting, it's helpful to have those encounters reported in case of a pattern of emerging concern. Okay, so I got it. So obviously I wasn't talking about bear sightings. I was talking about more aggressive stuff that happens with bears. So not a lot of great information there. At least they did respond to some of that, but in any case, I don't have a lot more information on the bear reports than I did before I asked the question. And then I asked, now that the vaccination is available in 50 states to everyone 60 and over, and 50%, and now over 50% of the country has received at least one dose of the vaccination, is the ATC considering opening offices, shelters, recognizing thru hikers? I asked, does the vaccination rate and availability meet the definition that the ATC has set up of being widely available? They said that when it was widely available, or there was a cure or a treatment, that they would begin to recognize thru hikers. And I also said, who will decide when the U.S. has reached the level set as one of the benchmarks for the ATC to reopen shelters and recognize thru hikers? So the answer I got was they are working on a frequently asked questions page. They will answer questions about thru hiker recognition. Now, they've not been recognized as thru hikers now for 2 years, so I don't know why they didn't have a FAQ page before now, but they're working on it. We will note that our criteria for opening up thru hiker 2,000 mile recognition will occur when the CDC has deemed the pandemic under control. I don't know if that will ever happen, that somebody's going to go out on a limb and say, it's under control, go out there, everything's normal now, have a good time. I just don't think that's going to happen. And a COVID-19 vaccine or effective treatment is widely available and distributed. Again, I asked for that definition. Although all adults in the U.S. are eligible for vaccinations, the thresholds of vaccines being widely distributed has not been reached. Okay, what is the threshold of when you consider it to be widely distributed? What is the threshold when the CDC considers it to be widely distributed? That's what I was asking, and all I was told is we don't consider it widely distributed, widely available yet. I don't know. I saw something today that said everybody that wants a vaccination can get a vaccination, so that seems to be widely distributed in the U.S. But I did get some answers, so they hadn't cut me off completely. They also went on to say, although hopefully it will be highly unlikely, there exists the potential threat of more contagious and deadly variants of the virus. It could mean even if the vaccine was widely distributed, uh-oh, here we go, folks. So many people would remain at risk that we would wait until the pandemic is under control or an effective treatment was available to resume thru hiker 2,000 mile recognition. So it's looking like even in 2022, we may not have THru HIker recognition from the ATC. Don't worry, Alder's recognizing you. And then I asked, has the ATC considered organize a vaccination fair at trail days and for hikers in Harper's Ferry? So, you know, I just thought, I know they can't do that. They're not medical people. They don't have doctors and nurses working for them. But I thought maybe they could reach out to the local health authority, health people there. Maybe have something there at trail days. Maybe put something together. You know, I don't think that would be that difficult to do that. I thought about doing it myself, but kind of felt like that was their place to do it. The answer I got was distribution of vaccine at trail days would be up to local and state health departments in the town of Damascus, which runs the festival independently from the ATC. So basically, we're just going to set up a tent and that's it. At this time, we do not view the Harper's Ferry Visitor Center as a viable site for vaccine distribution due to numerous logistical reasons. So I get that. You'd have to have a doctor or lawyer on staff there the whole time. Maybe it'd be nice if you'd organize a fair in Harper's Ferry for the townspeople of Harper's Ferry, and for whatever hikers are going to be coming through, organize it on a date when there was going to be a big bubble coming through, or a lot of flip-floppers starting then. So, you know, not everybody's going to want to be vaccinated, and that's fine. Don't have a problem in the world with that. But maybe helping hikers, you know, do the things that they need to do to be successful at their hike. I don't know, call me crazy, but maybe that's part of what your organization does or should do. That's just me, I don't know. And then a quick word about leave no trace. So as I went on my hike, and I've done this in previous hike, I come across something that I've seen before, and it's these little gnome villages. So, you know, they're all cutesy and everything, and somebody's idea thought that was cutesy. I don't know why they felt the need to go out there and do that, but that is not in keeping with leave no trace. I don't go to the woods to look at gnome villages. I mean, it's not that disturbing to me, but at the same time, they just don't belong there. So whoever's doing it, please go and collect them. I'm falling short of telling people to pick them up, put them in a trash bag, and take them to the next trailhead and leave them there to somebody, whoever's putting them out, to collect it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's not a good suggestion, but I'm not saying to do that either. But they don't belong there. And then what really doesn't belong there is the graffiti that I have been seeing that somebody has either spray painted or maybe chalk on trees for mileage. So seeing those in a lot of posts. I know everybody wants to celebrate their 500, 800, 1,000 mile, and the traditional method to do that is put some rocks on the ground or sticks on the ground and do that. Those will go away eventually or get dispersed, and they're natural. I think those are fine, but to deface a tree with chalk or, God forbid, it's paint, then I think that doesn't belong out there. I mean, you've already got problems with the graffiti at places like High Rocks and stuff like that up in, I believe it's up in Maryland. So that graffiti just doesn't belong out there on the trail. So I ask that whoever's doing it, stop doing it. If you're on the trail and it is chalk, take your water bottle and squirt it off, clean it off so the next folks coming through don't have to see the defacement of nature, God's creation out there. It's really not necessary. And one thing is, stop taking pictures and posting them to your social media accounts, because those just make whoever's doing it, makes them want to do it more and more, because it gives them notoriety, it gives them attention. So I know a lot of you folks out there are probably going to trash me for that. Leave a comment either way. I respect your right to, and served in the armed forces for your right to voice your opinion about stuff, you know, but be nice about it.